Hey guys, tonight we sink into the hazy, grape-scented world of Dionysus, the Greek god of wine, revelry, and just enough chaos to keep things interesting. Picture yourself sprawled on a hillside, the air thick with the sweet tang of fermented grapes, torches flickering under a starlit sky. You're surrounded by laughing Greeks, their faces flushed, their voices slurring into songs that feel half divine, half disaster. This is Dionysus's turf, where boundaries blur, and you might not survive the night if you don't keep your wits, or at least a good goblet. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in ancient Greece, the ground vibrating with the pulse of a festival. Dionysus, the god who'd make any party planner jealous, is at the heart of it. Born from a mortal mother, Semele, and the thunder-wielding Zeus, his origin story is as wild as you'd expect. Semele, pregnant and curious, demanded to see Zeus in his full divine glory. Big mistake. The sight incinerated her, leaving Zeus to scoop up the unborn Dionysus and stitch him into his thigh for safekeeping. Yes, his thigh. Historians confirm this bizarre birth tale appears in Hesiod's Theogony, around the 8th century BCE, cementing Dionysus as a god of strange beginnings. You can almost feel the heat of that divine fire, the weirdness of a god popping out of a leg, ready to stir up trouble. Dionysus doesn't just walk into a room, he crashes it. As the god of wine, fertility, and ritual madness, he's the spark that turns a quiet gathering into a full-blown bacchanal. You see him in your mind's eye. Ivy-crowned, leopard skin cloak slung over one shoulder, a thyrsus staff in hand, topped with a pine cone that screams, "I'm here to party." His followers, half-drunk and fully devoted, trail him like groupies at a rock concert. But there's a quirky tidbit most don't know. Some ancient texts, like the Homeric hymns, suggest Dionysus wasn't always welcomed by the Olympian elite. He was a bit of an outsider, his mortal roots making him suspect among the gods. Historians still argue whether his cult was a grassroots movement or a top-down divine mandate. Did the Greeks embrace him to justify their love of wine? Or did he force his way into their hearts? You wander through this festival, the air thick with grapevines and anticipation. The Greeks didn't just drink wine, they worshipped it. Dionysus taught them how to crush grapes, ferment the juice, and transform it into liquid courage. You can smell the earthy tang of clay amphorae, hear the clink of cups raised in toasts. It's not just a drink. It's a sacrament. You're tempted to join in, but there's a catch. Dionysus's parties have a dark side. His followers, caught in divine frenzy, might tear apart anyone who disrespects the vibe. Picture yourself dodging a tipsy reveler who's just a bit too enthusiastic about that thyrsus. It's like being at a concert where the mosh pit might actually eat you. As you weave through the crowd, you notice something else. The seeds of something bigger. These festivals, called Dionysia, aren't just about getting sloshed. They're where stories are born, where songs and dances start to look like theater. You squint at a group of revelers chanting in unison, their voices slurring into something poetic. It's chaotic, sure, but there's a rhythm to it, a spark of art in the madness. Dionysus, with his knack for blurring lines, is about to turn these drunken nights into something the world will never forget. You lean back, letting the hum of the crowd lull you, wondering how a thigh-born god could rewrite history with a jug of wine and a bad idea. You're still wandering through the buzzing chaos of a Dionysian festival, the air heavy with wine and the faint hum of something new being born. The ground beneath your feet is packed dirt, scuffed by dancing sandals, and you can still smell the sweet, sticky residue of spilled drinks. The crowd's chants are growing sharper, more rhythmic, like they're trying to tell a story through their slurred voices. This is where theater starts to take shape, right here in the drunken haze of Dionysus's worship. You're not just at a party anymore, you're witnessing the messy cradle of Greek drama, where wild songs for a wild god turn into something structured, something sacred. These festivals, the Dionysia, were held in spring, particularly in Athens around the 6th century BCE, a fact backed by inscriptions like the Fasti, a record of religious events. The Greeks gathered to honor Dionysus with sacrifices, feasts, and performances that were less community theater and more divinely inspired chaos. You hear a group of men, faces painted with grape juice, singing dithyrambs, hymns to Dionysus that sound like poetry set to a drunken beat. These songs, often performed by a chorus of 50, were the spark of theater. They weren't just random. They told stories of gods and heroes, weaving myth into music. You can almost feel the vibration of their voices, the way the crowd sways, half lost in the rhythm. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some ancient sources, like the comic poet Aristophanes, hint that these early performances were so rowdy, performers sometimes forgot their lines or just improvised nonsense. Imagine a tipsy actor shouting about Dionysus's leopard while tripping over his own cloak. Pure chaos, but it worked. Historians still argue whether the dithyramb evolved into tragedy first, or if comedy snuck in earlier. Was it the somber tales of gods that shaped theater, or the silly wine-fueled skits? You're not sure, but you're grinning at the thought of a Greek stumbling through a hymn, thinking he's Sophocles. You step closer to the makeshift stage, a flat patch of earth, really, where the chorus is forming. They're not just singing. They're moving together, their steps sloppy but deliberate. Dionysus's influence is everywhere. In the ivy wreaths on their heads, the wine sloshing in their hands, the way they seem to channel something bigger than themselves. You notice a leader stepping forward, breaking from the group to speak alone. This is new. This guy, maybe the first actor, is telling Dionysus's story, his birth, his battles, his gift of wine. The crowd roars, some cheering, some heckling, and you realize this is the moment theater starts to separate from ritual. It's like watching a caterpillar crack open, wings still wet but ready to fly. You can't help but chuckle at the scene. It's less Broadway, more backyard talent show, but it's electric. The wine keeps flowing, loosening tongues and inhibitions. You imagine Dionysus himself lounging nearby, smirking at the mess he's made. He's not just a god of excess, he's a showman, turning devotion into performance. You're tempted to join the chorus, but your modern sensibilities scream, "You'd trip over that toga in 2 seconds." Instead, you lean against a tree, letting the music wash over you. The dithyrambs are hypnotic, their cadence pulling you into a drowsy haze. You're starting to see why these festivals were addictive, not just for the wine, but for the stories that made people feel alive. As the night deepens, you notice the crowd settling, their energy shifting from wild to reverent. The songs are less chaotic now, more like a shared prayer. You're standing at the edge of history, where a god's party tricks are laying the foundation for something eternal. The hum of the festival feels like a lullaby, and you're sinking deeper into the scene, wondering how Dionysus's tipsy followers turned their revelry into art that still echoes today. You close your eyes, the chant lingering, ready to see where this strange, grape-soaked story goes next. You're still caught in the swirl of the Dionysian festival, the night air thick with the scent of crushed grapes and sweat-soaked tunics. The dithyrambs from that makeshift stage linger in your ears, their rhythm fading into a hum that feels like the pulse of the crowd itself. You're not just watching a party anymore, you're seeing wine become more than a drink. It's the glue holding this chaotic mess of people together, a gift from Dionysus that turns strangers into a community, if only for a night. You can feel the warmth of a clay cup in your hand, the wine's sharp tang teasing your tongue as you take a sip, careful not to spill on your imaginary toga. Wine wasn't just a party trick in ancient Greece. It was a social cornerstone. By the 7th century BCE, as evidenced by archaeological finds like amphorae in Athens, wine production was a major trade, binding city-states through commerce and shared rituals. Dionysus, the god behind it all, was more than a divine bartender. His gift of wine broke down barriers, making farmers, merchants, and nobles equals at the festival's altar. You see them now, laughing together, their differences blurred by the buzz. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some ancient Greeks believed wine could reveal your true character. Drink too much, and you might confess your secrets or start a brawl. You chuckle, imagining a philosopher oversharing after one too many sips, his toga askew. You wander through the crowd, noticing how wine fuels everything. It's in the songs, the dances, the way people lean closer to share a story. Dionysus's festivals weren't just about getting drunk. They were about connection. You spot a group passing a shared crater, a wide-mouthed bowl filled with wine diluted with water, because even these party animals knew not to go full strength. Historians still argue whether Dionysus's cult promoted unity or just glorified chaos. Did wine bring people together, or did it unleash their worst impulses? You're not sure, but you're dodging a guy who's clearly had too much, waving his thyrsus like a glow stick at a rave. The festival's energy shifts as the night deepens. You're drawn to a circle of revelers toasting Dionysus, their voices slurring prayers of thanks. Wine, they believe, is his blood, a sacred link to the divine. You can't help but smirk. Sounds like a marketing pitch for the world's oldest winery. But it works. The crowd's devotion is palpable, their shared sips creating a bond that feels almost holy. You imagine Dionysus watching from a nearby hill, his leopard skin cloak catching the moonlight, pleased with his handiwork. He's not just pouring drinks. He's pouring purpose into these people's lives. You take another sip from your cup, the wine's warmth spreading through you like a cozy blanket. It's easy to see why this god's cult spread like wildfire. Wine made the unbearable bearable. War, famine, the daily grind of ancient life. You're tempted to raise a toast yourself, but you'd probably spill it, and that's a sin even Dionysus might not forgive. Instead, you lean against a tree, the festival's hum wrapping around you like a lullaby. The crowd's laughter, the clink of cups, the distant chant of a chorus. It's all blending into a soft, sleepy rhythm. You're starting to feel the pull of Dionysus's magic, not just in the wine, but in the way it weaves people together, turning a rowdy night into something that feels like family. As you sink deeper into the scene, you notice the first hints of dawn on the horizon, a faint glow threatening to break the spell. But the festival isn't done with you yet. The wine, the songs, the stories, they're all part of Dionysus's plan, and you're caught in it, drifting toward the next chapter of this grape-soaked saga. You close your eyes, the taste of wine still on your lips, ready to see what else this god has up his ivy-crowned sleeve. You're still swaying in the glow of the Dionysian festival, the taste of wine lingering on your lips, the crowd's energy a warm hum around you. The torches cast flickering shadows, and you're starting to notice the chaos isn't as chaotic as it seems. Dionysus, that sly god with the leopard skin swagger, has a problem. His festivals are getting too wild. You see revelers stumbling, shouting, some trying to sneak into the best spots near the chorus without a care for order. It's like a modern concert with no security, just vibes and bad decisions. This is where the quirky myth of theater tickets comes in, a tale whispered in ancient texts that says Dionysus himself invented them to keep his parties from spiraling into madness. By the 5th century BCE, Athens's city Dionysia was a massive event, drawing thousands, as noted in records like the Athenian Constitution. Managing crowds was a nightmare, people shoving, brawling over seats, or just passing out in the wrong spot. You can almost hear Dionysus sigh, his thyrsus tapping impatiently. The myth, tucked into lesser-known scholia, claims he inspired the idea of tickets, simple clay tokens or bronze seals, to control entry. You're holding one now, a cool, rough disc etched with a grapevine. It's your pass to the show, proof you belong. Quirky tidbit. Some tokens were shaped like tiny wine jugs because Dionysus never missed a branding opportunity. You chuckle, imagining him as the ultimate event planner, muttering, "No ticket, no tragedy." Historians still argue whether tickets were Dionysus's divine brainstorm or just Athens's bureaucracy stepping in. Did the god whisper the idea to a festival organizer, or did practical Greeks figure it out themselves? You're not sure, but you're clutching your token, weaving through the crowd to find your spot. The system works, kind of. People are still rowdy, but there's a sense of order, like a mosh pit with manners. You spot a guy trying to barter his token for more wine, and you shake your head. Classic Greek move, prioritizing the buzz over the show. You settle into your place, the ground cool beneath you, the air buzzing with anticipation. The chorus is warming up, their voices weaving tales of Dionysus's adventures, his battles with skeptics, his gift of wine to mortals. The tickets aren't just about crowd control. They're a ritual, a way to make you feel part of something bigger. You glance at your token, its weight grounding you. It's like Dionysus is saying, "You're here for my story, so behave." You smirk, wondering if he'd approve of modern scalpers flipping tickets for a profit. Probably not. He'd rather they trade in wine. The festival's rhythm pulls you deeper, the crowd settling as the performance looms. You notice how the tickets create a strange equality. Rich or poor, everyone needs one. It's a fleeting moment of fairness in a world where status usually rules. You're tempted to wave your token like a backstage pass, but you'd probably just trip over someone's sandal. Instead, you lean back, the hum of voices and clink of cups blending into a sleepy cadence. The torches flicker, casting grapevine shadows that dance like Dionysus himself. You're starting to feel the weight of the night, the wine, the story, all pulling you toward a drowsy haze. As you clutch your token, you realize this is more than a myth. It's Dionysus taming his own chaos. The god of excess, the guy who'd throw a party on a volcano, figured out how to channel his followers' energy into something structured. You're drifting now, the festival's pulse slowing, the crowd's roar softening into a murmur. The token in your hand feels like a key to something ancient, something that started here and still echoes in every theater ticket stub you've ever saved. You close your eyes, ready to slip deeper into Dionysus's world, wondering what other tricks he's got up his ivy-wrapped sleeve. You're still clutching that clay token, its grapevine etching rough against your fingers as the festival's hum wraps around you like a warm blanket. The crowd's settling, but there's a wilder energy bubbling up, a pulse that feels less like theater and more like something unhinged. You're drawn to a group of women dancing on the outskirts, their movements frantic, their eyes glinting with something otherworldly. These are the Maenads, Dionysus's fiercest followers, and you're about to witness their ritual madness in full swing. The air crackles with their energy, like a storm about to break, and you're half tempted to join them, though you'd probably trip over your own feet trying to keep up. The Maenads were real in Greek culture, their ecstatic worship documented in texts like Euripides's Bacchae from the 5th century BCE, where they're shown tearing through forests, driven by divine frenzy. You see them now, hair loose, ivy crowns slipping as they whirl, their thyrsus staffs swinging like they're conducting chaos itself. They're not just dancing, they're possessed, channeling Dionysus's raw power. You catch a whiff of pine and wine as one brushes past, her laughter sharp and untamed. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some myths claim Maenads could charm snakes or rip animals apart with their bare hands. You glance at a nearby goat, hoping it's not on tonight's menu, and chuckle nervously. Historians still argue whether the Maenads were actual women caught in religious ecstasy, or just a mythic exaggeration of Dionysus's cult. Were they ordinary Greeks letting loose, or did the gods' influence push them into literal madness? You're not sure, but watching them, you feel the pull of their abandon. They're singing now, a mix of hymns and shrieks, their voices weaving tales of Dionysus's triumphs, how he punished doubters, how he gifted wine to mortals. You're standing at the edge of their circle, the ground vibrating under your feet, the air thick with the scent of crushed herbs and sweat. You notice the crowd giving the Maenads a wide berth, half in awe, half in fear. It's like they're the rock stars of this festival, untouchable and unpredictable. You imagine Dionysus grinning from somewhere nearby, his leopard skin cloak catching the torchlight, loving the chaos he's unleashed. You're tempted to cheer, but a Maenads' wild glance stops you cold. She looks like she could either hug you or hurl you into the next myth. Instead, you step back, letting their dance pull you into a drowsy trance. The rhythm of their feet, the clatter of their staffs. It's hypnotic, like a lullaby from a fever dream. As you watch, you realize this madness isn't just chaos. It's a release. The Maenads are breaking every rule of Greek society, where women were supposed to be calm, domestic, invisible. Here, under Dionysus's spell, they're free, if only for a night. You can't help but smirk, thinking of them as the original rebels, flipping the script long before anyone coined the term. The festival's glow softens, the Maenads dance slowing as dawn creeps closer. You're sinking deeper into the scene, the wine from earlier warming your veins, the wild energy settling into something almost soothing. You lean against a tree, the bark cool against your back, and let the Maenads' voices wash over you. Their frenzy is a reminder of Dionysus's power, not just to make wine, but to unravel the rules, to let people be more than themselves. You're drifting now, the festival's pulse blending with your own, the line between you and the myth blurring. The Maenads are still dancing, but their shapes are softening, like figures in a dream. You close your eyes, the hum of their song lingering, ready to follow Dionysus's wild legacy wherever it leads next. You're still lingering in the festival's fading glow, the Maenads' wild chants echoing in your ears as you wander toward a new pulse in the crowd. The air feels different now, heavier with purpose, as you find yourself drawn to a sloping hillside carved with stone seats, An early amphitheater, raw and rugged, but unmistakably sacred. This is where Dionysus's rituals are turning into something more permanent, a space where his chaotic worship is shaped into art. You can still smell the wine-soaked earth, but the focus is shifting from frenzy to performance. And you're standing in the heart of it, feeling the weight of history under your sandals. By the 6th century BCE, Athens had started building amphitheaters for the city Dionysia, with the Theater of Dionysus on the Acropolis's south slope as the most famous documented in archaeological records. You're here now, running your hand along a rough stone bench, the crowd buzzing around you. This isn't just a place to sit, it's a temple to Dionysus, where his stories come alive. The stage below is simple, just a circular patch called the orchestra, but it's electric with potential. You can almost see the chorus forming, their ivy crowns glinting, ready to sing the gods' praises. Quirky tidbit. Some early theaters used wooden benches that creaked so loudly, actors had to shout over the groans. Imagine trying to emote through that racket. You grin, picturing a performer side-eyeing a wobbly seat like it's heckling them. Historians still argue whether these amphitheaters were built to honor Dionysus or just to handle the growing crowds. Was this about devotion or crowd control dressed up as piety? You're not sure, but you settle onto a stone bench, the cool surface grounding you. The crowd's settling too, their wine-fueled chatter softening as they wait for the chorus to start. You notice the space's genius. Its curves amplify every sound, every whisper from the stage reaching even the back rows. It's like Dionysus designed it himself, ensuring his stories hit every ear, every heart. You lean forward, catching the first notes of a dithyramb, the same kind you heard earlier, but sharper now, more deliberate. The chorus moves as one, their steps echoing the Maenads' wild dance, but tamed for the stage. They're telling Dionysus's story, his birth from Zeus's thigh, his gift of wine, his vengeance on non-believers. You're pulled in, the performance weaving a spell that feels like the god's own magic. You can't help but chuckle, imagining Dionysus backstage, sipping wine and muttering, "Nailed it." The crowd's with you, their cheers rising, some tossing olive branches like they're at a modern concert throwing glow sticks. This sacred space is more than stone and song. It's a bridge between the divine and the human. You feel it in the way the crowd leans in, their faces lit by torchlight, hanging on every word. The theater is Dionysus's domain, where his chaos finds form, where wine-soaked revelry becomes art. You're tempted to clap along, but you'd probably startle the guy next to you, who's already half asleep from too much crater wine. Instead, you let the performance wash over you, its rhythm slow and soothing, like a tide pulling you deeper into the myth. As the chorus sings on, you notice the stars above. Their light softer now, blending with the torches. The amphitheater feels like a cocoon, holding you, the crowd, the story itself. You're drifting, the stone bench cool against your back, the voices a gentle hum. This is where Dionysus's legacy takes root, where his wild worship carves itself into something eternal. You close your eyes, the music fading into a dreamy pulse, ready to see what other tricks this god has woven into his festival's spell. You're still nestled in that ancient amphitheater, the stone bench cool beneath you, the chorus's voices fading into a soft hum that blends with the night's breeze. The crowd around you is buzzing, but not just with anticipation for the next song. They're restless, shifting, some sneaking sips from hidden wineskins. Dionysus's festivals are long, and keeping this rowdy bunch entertained takes more than a good story. You catch a whiff of fermented grapes as a vendor weaves through, offering diluted wine to keep spirits high. This is where the idea of wine breaks takes hold, a clever trick to keep the audience merry without letting the chaos of earlier, remember those maenads, spill over into the seats. In the 5th century BCE, the city Dionysia could last days, with performances stretching from dawn to dusk, as noted in festival schedules preserved in Athenian records. Wine breaks were practical genius, short pauses to pass around craters, letting the crowd refresh without losing the vibe. You're handed a cup now, the wine watered down but still sharp, its tang cutting through the dusty air. Quirky tidbit. Some Greeks believed drinking during performances pleased Dionysus, like toasting the god mid-show. You chuckle, imagining a tipsy spectator raising his cup to the stage, shouting, "To Dionysus!" and spilling half of it on his neighbor. Historians still argue whether these breaks were about devotion or just crowd management. Did Dionysus inspire them to keep his worship flowing? Or were organizers just trying to avoid a riot? You sip your wine, feeling the warmth spread, the crowd's energy settling into a pleasant buzz. The break's not just about drinking, it's a moment to connect. You overhear a farmer arguing with a merchant about the best vintage, their laughter loud enough to drown out the distant chorus. It's like a modern intermission, but with less popcorn and more divine vibes. You lean back, watching the crowd mingle, their faces lit by torchlight, their voices a soft roar. Dionysus's influence is everywhere. In the wine, the laughter, the way people seem to forget their troubles for a moment. The performance resumes, but you're still savoring the break's afterglow. The chorus is back, their voices sharper now, singing of Dionysus's travels, spreading wine across the world. You notice how the wine break has changed the crowd. They're looser, more engaged, like the drinks unlocked something in them. You're tempted to cheer, but you'd probably spill your cup, and you're not about to waste good wine, even in a myth. Instead, you let the scene pull you in, the rhythm of the chant mixing with the clink of cups, creating a sleepy cadence that feels like a warm hug. You glance at your clay token from earlier, remember that grapevine-etched disc? And realize these breaks are part of Dionysus's genius. He's not just the god of excess, he's the god of balance, knowing when to pour chaos and when to rein it in. The wine break keeps the festival from tipping into madness, letting the crowd stay just tipsy enough to love the show. You smirk, picturing Dionysus as the ultimate stage manager, orchestrating every sip and song. The amphitheater's glow softens, the stars above brighter now, and you're sinking deeper into the moment, the wine's warmth lulling you toward a dreamy haze. As the chorus sings on, you feel the crowd's pulse sync with yours, a shared rhythm that's both wild and calm. The wine break's done its job, keeping everyone tethered to Dionysus's spell. You close your eyes, the hum of voices and the distant clatter of cups blending into a soothing lullaby. This is Dionysus's world, wine, song, and just enough order to keep the chaos sweet. You're drifting now, ready to follow the god's next move, wondering what other secrets his festival holds. You're still lounging in that ancient amphitheater, the wine from the break warming your veins, the crowd's murmurs blending with the soft rustle of olive trees nearby. The chorus's song lingers in the air, but your mind drifts to the god behind it all. Dionysus, the ivy-crowned troublemaker, who's equal parts party host and divine wrecking ball. You're starting to see his dual nature, the way he dances between joy and destruction, like a bartender who could either pour you a drink or set the bar on fire. The torchlight flickers, casting shadows that seem to shift into his shape, half smiling, half menacing, always unpredictable. Dionysus's split personality is no myth. It's woven into texts like the Bacchae by Euripides, written around 405 BCE, where he's both a charming bringer of wine and a vengeful force who drives mortals mad. You picture him now, lounging with a goblet, his leopard skin cloak slipping off one shoulder, eyes glinting with mischief. One minute, he's teaching mortals to ferment grapes, spreading laughter and revelry. The next, he's unleashing chaos, like when he tricked King Pentheus into spying on the Maenads, only to have them tear him apart. You shudder, glad you're just a spectator, though you double-check your imaginary toga for rips, just in case. Quirky tidbit. Some ancient vase paintings show Dionysus riding a donkey, drunk but dignified, like he's the patron saint of bad decisions. Historians still argue whether Dionysus was worshipped as a liberator or feared as a destroyer. Did Greeks see him as freedom in a cup, or a warning about losing control? You're not sure, but you feel his presence in the amphitheater's buzz. The crowd's laughter has an edge now, like they know the god they're honoring could flip the mood in an instant. You glance at the chorus, their voices rising in a hymn about Dionysus's birth, stitched into Zeus's thigh. Remember that wild tale? And you sense the tension in their song. It's worship, sure, but it's also a plea to keep his darker side at bay. You lean back, the stone bench cool against your shoulders, and watch the crowd. Some are swaying, lost in the wine's glow. Others look wary, clutching their clay tokens like talismans. You can't help but chuckle, imagining Dionysus winking at the nervous ones, daring them to loosen up. His dual nature is what makes this festival electric. One wrong move, and the party could turn into a riot. You're tempted to toast to his unpredictability, but you'd probably spill your wine, and you're not about to tempt fate with a god like this. Instead, you let the chorus's rhythm pull you in, their voices a soothing thread tying the crowd's energy together. The night deepens, the torches burning low, and you feel Dionysus's influence everywhere. In the wine's warmth, the crowd's restless hum, the way the air seems to pulse with possibility. He's the spark that makes this feel alive, but also the shadow that keeps you on edge. You imagine him whispering, "Relax, but don't get too comfortable." And you grin, picturing him as the ultimate cosmic DJ, spinning joy and chaos in equal measure. The amphitheater feels like his playground, a place where his contradictions play out in every song, every sip, every cheer. As the chorus sings on, you sink deeper into the scene, the stone beneath you grounding, the stars above softening. Dionysus's dual nature is a lullaby of sorts, wild enough to keep you hooked, calm enough to let you drift. You're starting to feel the pull of sleep, the festival's pulse blending with your own, the god's presence a hazy dream. You close your eyes, the hum of voices and the faint clink of cups fading into a gentle rhythm, ready to follow Dionysus's strange, intoxicating story wherever it leads next. You're still sunk into the amphitheater's stone embrace, the crowd's hum a distant lullaby, the taste of watered wine lingering like a memory on your tongue. The chorus's latest hymn to Dionysus is winding down, its melody heavy with sorrow now, not just revelry. You're starting to see how these performances, born in the god's tipsy festivals, gave rise to something deeper: tragedy, the art of weeping under starlight. The air feels thicker, charged with emotion, as the singers weave tales of loss and divine wrath, all tied to Dionysus's chaotic heart. You lean forward, caught in the shift from party to poetry, feeling the weight of stories that hit harder than the wine. Tragedy's roots in Dionysus's worship are well documented, with the city Dionysia of Athens, by the 5th century BCE, hosting formal tragic competitions, as noted in records like Aristotle's Poetics. You're watching one unfold now, the chorus chanting about a hero's downfall, their voices raw, their movements slow and deliberate. These plays, born from dithyrambs, remember those drunken songs? Turned Dionysus's myths into mirrors for human pain. You feel the crowd around you hush, their wine cups forgotten, as the story of a king defying the gods unfolds. Quirky tidbit: early tragedians sometimes used wine itself as a prop, splashing it on the stage to symbolize blood. You chuckle, imagining a prop guy panicking as he mops up the gore before the next scene. Historians still argue whether tragedy grew from Dionysus's rituals because of his dual nature, joy and destruction, or because Greeks just loved a good cry. Was it the gods' influence, or human nature craving catharsis? You're not sure, but you're hooked, the chorus's words pulling you into a tale of hubris and ruin. The lead singer, maybe an early version of a tragic actor, steps forward, his mask amplifying his grief. You can almost see Dionysus in the shadows, nodding approval, his leopard skin cloak catching the torchlight. This is his domain, where wine-soaked revelry meets raw emotion, where stories make you feel alive and broken all at once. You notice the crowd leaning in, some wiping tears, others gripping their clay tokens, those grapevine-etched discs, like lifelines. You're tempted to clap, but that'd probably startle the guy next to you, who's sniffling into his toga. Instead, you let the tragedy wash over you, its rhythm slow and heavy, like a heartbeat winding down. The chorus sings of Dionysus's wrath, how he punished mortals who doubted his divinity, and you feel a shiver. Remember his darker side? The one that turned Pentheus into Maenad confetti? It's like the gods whispering, "Pay attention, this could be you." The amphitheater's stone curves amplify every sob, every wail, making the story feel like it's happening to you. You're sinking deeper, the wine's warmth mixing with the tragedy's chill, creating a dreamy haze. You can't help but smirk, thinking how Dionysus turned his rowdy parties into this, a place where people cry on purpose and call it art. The chorus's voices soften, their movements slower now, as the play nears its end. The crowd's quiet, but it's a shared silence, like they're all breathing together, bound by the story and the god behind it. As the final notes fade, you lean back, the stone cool against your spine, the stars above brighter in the pre-dawn hush. This is tragedy's birthplace, Dionysus's gift to a world that needed to feel everything: joy, pain, and the blurry line between. You're drifting now, the chorus's sorrow a gentle lull, the festival's pulse syncing with your own. You close your eyes, the hum of the crowd, and the faint clink of cups fading into a sleepy rhythm, ready to see what else Dionysus's strange, heart-wrenching world has in store. You're still nestled in the amphitheater's stone embrace, the echo of that tragic chorus fading into the cool night air, leaving a bittersweet ache in your chest. The crowd around you is stirring now, their silence breaking into murmurs, some cheering, others still sniffling from the play's heavy end. You're starting to feel like one of them, caught up in Dionysus's spell, swaying to the rhythm of his festival. The torches flicker, casting long shadows, and you realize the audience isn't just watching. They're part of the show, a living chorus chanting and reacting as if they're actors too. You lean forward, caught in their energy, feeling the pulse of this ancient crowd pull you deeper into the gods' world. By the 5th century BCE, Athenian audiences at the city Dionysia were famously vocal, as described in texts like Aristophanes' comedies, where spectators shouted, heckled, or even threw figs at bad performers. You're right there with them, dodging a stray olive as a rowdy group chants praise for Dionysus, their voices slurring from wine. Remember those breaks? You can smell the fermented grapes on their breath, see their ivy-wreathed heads bobbing in rhythm with the stage. Quirky tidbit. Some audience members brought cushions to soften those stone seats, a trick you're wishing you'd thought of as your backside protests. You chuckle, imagining a Greek grandma smuggling in a pillow like it's contraband. Historians still argue whether these crowds shaped the plays or just reflected them. Did their chants inspire the chorus's role, or were they just rowdy fans egged on by Dionysus's vibe? You're not sure, but you're swept up in their energy, clapping along as the next performance starts. A lighter tale, maybe a satyr play to lift the mood. The crowd roars, some mimicking the chorus's lines, others shouting tipsy advice to the actors. You're tempted to join in, but your modern instincts scream, "Don't be that guy yelling at the stage." Instead, you let their voices wash over you, a chaotic harmony that feels like the gods' own heartbeat. You notice how the audience mirrors the Maenads from earlier, wild, but bound by the theater's spell. They're swaying, chanting, some dancing in their seats, like they're part of Dionysus's ritual. You spot a guy waving his clay token. Remember that grapevine disc? Like a concert lighter, and you grin, picturing Dionysus approving from the shadows, his thyrsus tapping the beat. This isn't just a show. It's worship, a shared trance where the crowd becomes the chorus, their voices blending with the actors. You feel it too, the pull to join, to lose yourself in the collective hum of wine and story. The amphitheater's curves carry every sound, making you feel like you're inside the performance, not just watching. The crowd's laughter, their gasps, their drunken cheers. It's all part of Dionysus's magic, turning strangers into a single, pulsing entity. You're sinking deeper, the stone bench grounding you, the wine's warmth softening your edges. You can't help but smirk, thinking how this ancient mosh pit feels like a modern festival, everyone caught in the same spell. The stars above are fading, dawn creeping closer, but the crowd's energy keeps you tethered to the moment, drowsy but alive. As the play rolls on, you lean back, the hum of voices wrapping around you like a lullaby. Dionysus's festival is more than wine and tragedy. It's this crowd, this shared pulse, this chaotic unity. You close your eyes, the rhythm of their chants blending with the distant clink of cups, pulling you toward a dreamy haze. You're part of the chorus now, caught in the god's strange, intoxicating world, ready to see what other tricks his festival has woven into its spell. You're still swaying with the amphitheater crowd, their chants and cheers a warm hum that feels like it's carrying you closer to sleep. The stone beneath you is cool, grounding, but the energy of Dionysus's festival keeps you tethered to this ancient moment. The play's moved on, the actors' voices fading into the background, but you're noticing something else now. The way those clay tokens, like the grapevine-etched one in your hand, are more than just entry passes. They're Dionysus's clever way of taming this wild crowd, turning chaos into something resembling order. You twirl the token between your fingers, its weight a reminder of the god's knack for balancing madness with method. By the 5th century BCE, Athens's city Dionysia used tokens to manage thousands of spectators, as hinted in records like the Athenian Constitution, which describe festival logistics. These little discs, clay, bronze, sometimes bone, were early crowd control, ensuring only those who paid or were invited got a seat. You're holding yours tightly, dodging a tipsy reveler trying to barter for it with a half-empty wineskin. Quirky tidbit. Some tokens had seat numbers scratched on them, like ancient VIP passes, though you're betting the back rows still grumbled about their view. You chuckle, imagining a Greek usher squinting at a token, muttering, "Sorry, pal, you're up in the nosebleeds." Historians still argue whether these tickets were a divine idea from Dionysus or just Athenian bureaucrats flexing their organizational skills. Did the god inspire this system to keep his worship orderly, or was it mortals trying to stop fistfights over prime seats? You're not sure, but you feel the token's purpose in the crowd's flow. People are still rowdy. Someone's shouting about the last play's sad ending, but they're moving smoother now, guided by their tokens to their spots. You settle back, the stone bench hard but familiar, and watch the crowd sort itself out, like a tipsy puzzle falling into place. The chorus starts up again, their voices weaving another tale of Dionysus, maybe his clash with pirates, turning them into dolphins, a story you vaguely recall from the Homeric hymns. The tokens keep the crowd in check, letting the performance shine. You notice how they create a strange fairness. Rich or poor, everyone needs one, just like everyone shares the wine. Remember those breaks? It's like Dionysus is whispering, "Play nice or no show for you." You smirk, picturing him as the ultimate bouncer, checking tokens with a grin and a thyrsus jab. You're tempted to wave your token like a trophy, but you'd probably drop it and spend the rest of the festival crawling under benches. Instead, you let the crowd's rhythm pull you in, their murmurs blending with the chorus's song, a sleepy cadence that feels like a warm tide. The amphitheater's glow softens, the torches burning low, and you're sinking deeper into the scene. The tokens aren't just about order, they're a pact, tying you to the ritual, to Dionysus's world. You feel it in the way the crowd moves, less chaotic now, more like a single organism swaying under the god's spell. As the play continues, you lean back, the stars above brighter in the pre-dawn hush. The token in your hand feels like a key to something bigger, a link to the god who turned wild revelry into structured art. You're drifting now, the hum of voices and the faint clink of cups fading into a gentle lullaby. Dionysus's festival is a balance of chaos and control, and you're caught in its rhythm, ready to follow his story wherever it weaves next, your eyelids heavy with the promise of dreams. You're still cradled in the amphitheater's stone embrace, the hum of the crowd and the faint clink of wine cups lulling you deeper into Dionysus's world. Your clay token, remember that grapevine-etched disc, rests heavy in your hand, a small anchor in the festival's swirl. The chorus's latest song fades, but the air buzzes with something new. The scent of wine isn't just a drink now. It's a brand, a divine elixir sold by Dionysus himself. You're starting to see how this god didn't just give mortals wine. He marketed it as a must-have, a sacred sip that could make you feel closer to the divine. You lean back, the stars above twinkling like they're in on the sales pitch. Wine's cultural power in ancient Greece was massive, with trade routes by the 6th century BCE spreading it across the Mediterranean, as shown by amphorae found in archaeological digs from Athens to Sicily. Dionysus, ever the savvy god, turned his gift into a mythic brand. You picture him now, ivy crown tilted, holding up a crater like it's a billboard ad. "Drink my wine, touch the divine." His festivals, like the city Dionysia, weren't just worship, they were showcases where wine flowed to prove his power. Quirky tidbit: Some myths claim Dionysus taught mortals to mix wine with herbs for extra mystical effects, like the world's first energy drink. You chuckle, imagining a Greek chugging it and thinking he's seen Zeus, when really he's just seeing double. Historians still argue whether Dionysus's wine cult was about spiritual connection or clever marketing for social control. Did the god inspire devotion, or did priests push his brand to keep festivals funded? You're not sure, but you're sipping from a shared crater now, the wine's tang sharp and earthy. The crowd around you toasts Dionysus, their voices slurring prayers that sound like ad jingles. You spot a vendor hawking wineskins, claiming they're blessed by the god himself, and you smirk. Sounds like something Dionysus would totally endorse, probably with a wink and a discount code. You wander through the festival, noticing how wine's everywhere, not just in cups but in the stories. The chorus sings of Dionysus gifting vines to mortals, turning barren hills into vineyards. It's like he's not just a god, but a lifestyle influencer, convincing everyone this drink is their ticket to joy, wisdom, maybe even immortality. You're tempted to raise your cup and yell, "To Dionysus, the original hype man," but you'd probably spill, and you're not about to waste sacred wine. Instead, you let the crowd's energy pull you in, their toasts and laughter a sleepy rhythm that feels like a warm hug. The amphitheater's glow softens, the torches casting long shadows that dance like grapevines. You feel Dionysus's branding genius in every sip, every chant. He's made wine more than a drink. It's a story, a ritual, a reason to gather. You glance at your token, its grapevine etching catching the light, and realize it's part of the brand too, a souvenir of the god's world. You're sinking deeper, the wine's warmth blending with the crowd's hum, creating a dreamy haze. You can't help but grin, thinking how Dionysus would probably love modern wine tastings, schmoozing with sommeliers while pushing his divine vintage. As the night deepens, the chorus's song slows, their voices a gentle lullaby weaving tales of vineyards and divine favor. You lean back, the stone bench cool against your spine, the stars brighter now. Dionysus's wine isn't just liquid, it's a spell, binding this crowd, this moment, this myth. You close your eyes, the hum of voices and the faint scent of grapes fading into a soothing rhythm, ready to drift into whatever corner of the god's story comes next. You're still nestled in the amphitheater's cool stone seats, the hum of the crowd, and the faint scent of wine wrapping around you like a soft blanket. Your clay token, remember that grapevine-etched disc, sits heavy in your palm, a tiny piece of Dionysus's world. The chorus's latest hymn has faded, but its echo lingers, carrying stories of the god's gifts and the theaters born from his worship. You're starting to see how these chaotic festivals, with their wine and wild chants, didn't just vanish. They carved a legacy that still shapes stages today. You lean back, the stars above glinting like they're applauding, and you're pulled deeper into the god's lasting spell. By the 5th century BCE, the theater of Dionysus in Athens was hosting dramas that became the blueprint for Western theater, a fact cemented by surviving plays like Sophocles' Oedipus Rex. You're standing in that theater now, its stone tiers packed with spectators, their cheers rising as actors weave tales of fate and hubris. These performances, born from Dionysus's dithyrambs, remember those tipsy songs, are the root of every stage, from Broadway to your local community playhouse. Quirky tidbit. Some ancient actors wore boots with thick soles, called kothurni, to look taller and more divine, like the world's first platform shoes. You chuckle, picturing a tragic hero wobbling on stage, hoping not to faceplant mid-monologue. Historians still argue whether Dionysus's rituals directly birthed theater or if they just gave Greeks an excuse to show off their storytelling. Was it divine inspiration, or did mortals just love a good spotlight? You're not sure, but you feel the legacy in the air. The chorus below sways, their voices blending myth and emotion, telling of Dionysus's triumphs, his gift of wine, his battles with skeptics. You notice the crowd leaning in, their wine cups, those breaks still flowing, clutched tight, their faces lit by torchlight. It's like they're part of the play, just like you, caught in a ritual that feels eternal. You glance at your token, its grapevine design a reminder of Dionysus's touch. This theater, this moment, is his creation, a space where chaos becomes art, where wine and stories bind people across centuries. You're tempted to cheer, but you'd probably startle the guy next to you, who's nodding off, his wineskin slipping. Instead, you let the chorus's rhythm wash over you, their song a sleepy cadence that feels like a warm tide. You can't help but smirk, thinking how Dionysus would love modern theater. Imagine him in a velvet seat, sipping rosé, critiquing the lighting. The amphitheater's glow softens, the torches burning low, and you feel the weight of history in every stone. This is where it all began. Tragedy, comedy, the roar of a crowd moved by a story. You see it in the actors' masks, the chorus's steps, the way the crowd breathes as one. Dionysus's legacy isn't just wine or wild nights. It's this, a stage where humans wrestle with their own hearts. You're sinking deeper now, the hum of voices blending with the night's breeze, pulling you into a dreamy haze. The stars seem closer, their light a gentle nod to the gods' enduring mark. As the play winds down, you lean back, the stone cool against your spine. The crowd's cheers are softer now, their energy spent but content. You're part of this legacy too, caught in Dionysus's spell, where a festival became a foundation for art that still sings. You close your eyes. The chorus's fading notes a soothing lullaby, ready to drift into the next piece of the god's intoxicating world, wondering how his story weaves into your own dreams. You're still sunk into the amphitheater's stone seats, the cool rock anchoring you as the crowd's murmurs blend with the fading notes of the chorus. The scent of wine, remember those breaks? Lingers in the air, mixing with the earthy tang of olive trees under the starry sky. Your clay token, that grapevine-etched disc, feels like a talisman now, tying you to Dionysus's world. But as you watch the crowd sway, some still chanting, others dancing like they're auditioning for the Mythology crew, you start to see something familiar. This festival, with its wild energy and wine-soaked unity, feels like a modern concert or rave, a place where people lose themselves in the moment, just like those ancient revelers did. You're caught in the parallel, the god's influence stretching across time. The Dionysian festivals, especially the city Dionysia of the 5th century BCE, were massive communal events, drawing thousands, as noted in Athenian inscriptions like the Fasti. You're right there, feeling the crowd's pulse, their cheers echoing like fans at a music festival. The Maenads, those wild women from earlier, are like the diehards in the front row, screaming for Dionysus the way modern fans lose it for their favorite band. Quirky tidbit: some ancient sources, like vase paintings, show Maenads wearing animal skins, not unlike the leopard print outfits you'd spot at a rock concert today. You chuckle, imagining a Maenad rocking a cheetah print toga, twirling her thyrsus like a glow stick. Historians still argue whether Dionysus's cult inspired modern festivals or if humans just naturally crave these chaotic gatherings. Is it the god's lingering spirit, or just our need to escape the daily grind? You're not sure, but you feel the connection. The crowd swaying, their wine cups raised, mirrors a sea of phones lighting up a stadium. You spot a group dancing near the stage, their moves sloppy but joyful, and it's like watching festival-goers today, caught in the same euphoric haze. You're tempted to join them, but your imaginary sandals would probably betray you, sending you sprawling into someone's crater. You lean back, the stone bench cool against your spine, and let the scene unfold. The chorus is singing again, a softer hymn now, praising Dionysus's gift of freedom. Freedom to dance, to drink, to forget who you're supposed to be. It's the same freedom you see at modern festivals, where people shed their inhibitions under neon lights. You picture Dionysus grinning from the shadows, his ivy crown tilted, pleased to see his vibe alive in your world. You smirk, imagining him at a Coachella stage, sipping wine and vibing to the bass drop, probably judging the craft beer selection. The amphitheater's glow is fading, the torches nearly spent, but the crowd's energy holds you. This is Dionysus's legacy. Not just theaters or wine, but this feeling, this shared madness that makes you feel alive. You notice the parallels in the way people here cheer, laugh, stumble. Just like at any modern festival, where the music and the moment take over. The stars above seem to pulse with the rhythm, and you're sinking deeper, the hum of voices and the clink of cups blending into a sleepy cadence. You're part of this ancient modern ritual, caught in the god's timeless spell. As the night winds down, you feel the festival's pulse slow, the crowd's energy softening into a shared, drowsy contentment. Your token rests in your hand, a bridge between then and now, between Dionysus's world and yours. You close your eyes, the Maenad's distant chants fading into a gentle lullaby, ready to drift into the final piece of this grape-soaked saga, wondering how the god's story will settle into your dreams. You're still cradled in the amphitheater's stone embrace, the cool rock a steady anchor, as the festival's hum softens into a whisper. The crowd's energy is fading, their wine-soaked cheers now murmurs, blending with the rustle of olive leaves under a sky heavy with stars. Your clay token, that grapevine-etched disc, rests in your palm, its weight a quiet reminder of Dionysus's world. The chorus's final hymn lingers, a dreamy melody weaving tales of the god's legacy, and you feel yourself slipping into a hazy vision of his reign. It's as if the festival is dissolving, the line between myth and dream blurring, pulling you toward a gentle, sleepy tide. Dionysus's influence, rooted in those 5th century BCE festivals like the city Dionysia, documented in Athenian records, stretches far beyond this night. You're drifting now, imagining vineyards sprawling across ancient hills, their grapes fueling stories that still echo in modern theaters, bars, even late-night talks with friends. His gift wasn't just wine. It was connection, chaos, and the courage to feel everything. Quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed Dionysus's wine could spark prophetic dreams, like a divine nightcap sending you visions. You smile, wondering if that last sip, remember those wine breaks, is why you're sinking so easily into this drowsy haze. Historians still argue whether Dionysus's cult was a spiritual revolution or a clever way to channel human wildness? Did his rituals free people, or just give them a leash long enough to feel free? You're not sure, but you see him now, a shadowy figure with an ivy crown, his leopard skin cloak soft in the torchlight, smiling like he knows the answer. The crowd's fading, their voices a gentle hum, and you're floating through a dreamscape of grapevines and starlight, Dionysus's laughter echoing faintly. You're tempted to call out to him, but your voice feels heavy, like it's melting into the night. The amphitheater's stone is cool against your back, the stars above so bright they seem to pulse with the festival's rhythm. You feel Dionysus's legacy in every breath, every story, every moment of shared joy or sorrow. You chuckle softly, imagining him crashing a modern wine bar, charming everyone with a single toast. The world he shaped, through wine, theater, and wild nights, feels alive in you, a thread connecting ancient revelers to your own quiet moments. The hum of the crowd, the clink of cups, it's all fading now, a soothing lullaby carrying you closer to sleep. Went down. And now, as the festival's glow dims, you let the night wrap around you like a soft, familiar blanket. The amphitheater fades, its stone seats blending into the shadows, the stars above softening into a gentle shimmer. You're drifting, the scent of crushed grapes and olive leaves lingering, a whisper of Dionysus's world. His stories, his wine, his chaotic joy, they're part of you now, tucked into your dreams like a warm ember. Let the hum of ancient voices fade. Let the weight of your token slip away. You're safe here, floating in a haze of myth and starlight, where the gods' laughter is a distant, comforting echo. Breathe slow. Feel the night settle, and let sleep carry you gently, like a vine curling toward the sun. You've wandered through Dionysus's reign, and now it's time to rest, to dream, to let the world grow quiet.